And whenever they go to work, I would steal the instrument.
He would tell me that Mr. Ranglin never left his guitar. It's always strapped on to him, as a youngster. This genre now is taken everywhere by storm.
Wha Gwaan Munchy.
Miss Munchy, what we tell him?
I hear me, Miss Munchy. Keeping it locked with Munchy.
Miss Munch, are you run the thing, so watch you now?
You know me, I say Munchy. Yell up Munchy. Wha Gwaan Munchy.
Reggaeville family, thank you so much for tuning into another episode of Wha Gwaan Munchy, coming to you again from Jamaica. And I have with me, and that is something extraordinary, I have with me two of the greatest musicians from this country. Wow. I mean, I have with me Ernest Ranglin, guitarist, and Dean Fraser on the saxophone. How are you two gentlemen today?
Oh, fine, I'm fine. How are you?
I am fine, Pops.
You're fine.
It is really such a pleasure and honor to interview the two of you. We are looking at more than 100 years of experience in music all together. And the reason why we're sitting here today is because you teamed up for a collaborative project.
Yes.
An album that is coming up named Two Colors will be released on May 27th, 12 tracks. And with your musical experience and knowledge spanning over different genres, over many decades, tell us a bit, what can we expect musically from this project? Will we only hear instrumentals, and what genres will we be able to listen to?
It's reggae, of course.
Okay.
It's reggae music, and we chose to inflict a little dub kind of feel to it, and it's very much a lot of guitar and sax instrumental.
Mm-hmm.
So there were no voices added apart from Big U, right, on one track. But everything else is strictly instrumental, and so we add all of the genres. We put in a little ska, a little mento, a little roots reggae, a little dub-wise reggae, little what the British people would call lovers rock reggae. So we really included everything to keep this music live and well.
How did the two of you meet, and how did the idea for this project come about?
Well, we have met for a good little while, but then we never have the opportunity to do what we have decided to do. This is our first, and I'm quite happy to know that we had this opportunity, because to me, I was looking forward for this man, for both of us to do something for years. There are other people who have got little things, and this is how we used to meet in the studio. But now we have better idea, we have better intentions, let's put it that way. And we are hoping that things could be wonderful from here on.
Yeah, I'm sure. I'm sure it's going to be wonderful from here on. The production process was during the pandemic. Was that a challenge also in terms of your age, protection and so forth? How did you have to get creative to actually come up with this piece?
Very creative, but of course with the help of Dale, that's the gentleman standing to your right? So with his help, 90% of our troubles was over.
Okay.
Because we were able to record in Kingston, right? This is after meeting with Mr. Ranglin, and he did demos for us at Dale's house. So we were able to go back to Kingston, record the songs, then come back to Dale's house and get Mr. Ranglin to put on his parts.
Okay.
You understand me? So
they were actually recorded right in this very space we're sitting?
Well, not this space, but a little space down the road. Right? And so that protected him totally because he didn't have to leave out of his area, you know.
And yes, sorry to cut you.
Yeah.
But being such a young fellow, me,
yeah, man, of course.
I've got to be very careful of going around in these times, these COVID times.
Exactly.
Continue, sir.
Right. So with that, we had all the help, you know. So this part of the project was really possible with the help of DL. You understand me? We have to give thanks to him for, you know, this. Yeah, you understand me? So, and of course, he is also the bass player on a lot of projects.
And a fine bass player.
Very excellent.
I was just about to ask, because we have two fine musicians right here, but of course there are other musicians involved in the project. So who also played on the record, apart from the two of you?
Well, you had Desi Jones on drums, and you had Carl McLaughlin, Bowie, right? He did keyboards. You had Dale, of course, doing bass. You have Michael Fletcher also doing bass. You have Lamont Savory doing guitars, right? And myself and the added horns was O'Keel McIntyre, young trumpeter, very excellent musician. Shade Love, excellent sax player, and a young trombone player, Fletcher, Randy Fletcher. Right, so we had all these people, and then we had Hector Lewis doing percussions. Right, and so we were able to sit down and, you know, put on all these music, and then that is after Mr. Ranglin had overdubbed his parts, so, you know, we built everything around that.
Wonderful. So Two Colors, the project is coming up on May 27th. We will talk about the rich musical history those two young gentlemen right here have in just a few from now. But of course, I will be highlighting a few other releases that are coming up also in May. Alpha Blondy is going to release his new album Eternity on May 6th, and just a week later Groundation will present One Rock. And another Jamaican artist is coming up with something very special, because Shaggy teamed up with Sting once more. Sting is the producer for what is called Come Fly With Me, which is the Sinatra songbook. And while Shaggy chose to do over Sinatra songs, he told the people lately.
I've always been a Sinatra fan, you know, as I am a Sting fan, as I am, you know, a Paul Simon fan, or Simon and Garfunkel fan, or a Bruce fan, and I love music in general, and well, you know that about me, and go. So Frank has been in my home as a child. I don't know if you noticed, but in Jamaica, it's, I would say probably around, 20 years or so, that you started to have Irie FM, or a little bit more than that, where they played all reggae. It used to be on Sundays in my household with my grandmother, Frank Sinatra was a big thing that played. And on major radio stations in Jamaica at that time, Sunday was the day that you heard Sinatra, Bing Crosby, Nat King Cole.
Reggaeville family, as I mentioned, I have here more than 100 years of Jamaican music history, spanning from ska to reggae. We mentioned Mento as well, right? And I mentioned your young age, so maybe we go back this little time span,
Yeah.
because when you started out making music as a young kid,
Yeah.
that was a whole different time, because
Yeah.
we're talking about Jamaica not being independent as yet. We're also talking about a musical time when ska
Yeah.
didn't even
No,
start as
far,
yet.
far from that.
So please tell me a bit about your childhood and what role music played in that, and in what form also.
Well, during my young boy days, it was more of a mental kind of thing. And one person that I can always remember about that is a gentleman by the name of Baba Mac. I don't know if you ever hear that name. He was a saxophone player, but I think he was a Cuban too. But he brought the mental music to Jamaica. And this is how I learned the mental music. That's where my beginning of that. And, well, he's one of them. There are many other people, because as we go along, we put one and one together and whatever, well, I'm hoping that the both of us now will put 10 and 10 to 20 to 20 plus
Right.
together.
Yes, right. But what actually motivated you to pick up the instrument? Because it's one thing to listen music, right, and enjoy music. A lot of people do that. But
Yeah.
to go into music professionally, and I mean, you started with the ukulele at a young age, right?
Well, I think somehow I think the music was ordained to be with me, because I think I had it in me from a young boy. My grandmother, she used to be an organist, and with only church music in those days. And then, I was born in the country, and a lot of these other popular music I didn't know about it, because as a young little fellow. And but from I was about 4 going 5, I used to whatever I could hear, and my 2 uncles, they used to play, and not great, but yes, great, because I learned something by listening to them. And whenever they go to work, I would steal the instrument. And, if I was to tune the thing to say about 50%, I tune it about 25%, that I won't break the strings. So,
Won't get into trouble.
yes.
Right,
So I would put up back everything before they come from work, to work, and from work. And so these are some of the experiences.
So Dean, would you still recall the first recording you heard from Ernest?
So as a little teenager, young boy, it's not like now, where you have the internet, where you have social media. So I live in Trenchtown.
Right.
And it was one of it would make my day when Bob Marley and the Wailers, or the Wailers in general, would drive past, because them just live around the road, And so when little songs like Nice Time and Hypocrites and them songs they started to play, which had some serious guitar licks coming out of Mr. Ranglin, and so eventually I started to play, and my first band leader was named Sonny Bradshaw.
Right.
And early Ranglin was a name that he mentioned every time. So he would say, he would tell me that Mr. Ranglin never left his guitar. It's always strapped on to him, as a youngster. And so then I started to listen to all these Studio One stuff, and because of my interest in the music, of course. And then, I came upon a famous song called Hurts to Be Alone, and I started to ask questions, you understand me? Because as a youngster, you're going to know about Wes Montgomery and Burrell and Kenny Burrell and these great guitar players, but this now was something special for me personally, and it was played by Ernest Ranglin, and Sonny Bradshaw pointed out these things to me and saying, that man is a genius, you understand me? So then, as a youngster, we used to have little jazz sessions in Kingston at the Sheraton Janko Lounge. I would go to listen to Mr. Ranglin, and well, that's where we actually met, because I was a youngster learning to play at the time, and so that's where we actually met. And so these guitar licks, drive me to listening to songs and trying to say, well, Mr. Ranglin played that, you understand, because, signature sound and how, right? So this is where I grew into, listening a lot. And with a little bias, I am actually a lover of guitar music, so I wasn't listening to a lot of sax playing at the time. I listened to a lot of guitar music, right? So, this magnet he had just drew me to listening to him, So I, those days I bought records, so I would buy these records that he played on, and, and just listen.
But can you explain why music had such a effect on you? Because you mentioned at one time to me that it wasn't cricket and it wasn't football, but your extracurricular activity would be the clarinet and then later on the saxophone. And you mentioned how you would be sitting in Trenchtown and it would be exciting to see artists and drive by and so forth.
Yeah, well, at that time, we thought of really uplifting ourselves, and music was one of the ways of doing so. And to see your peers doing what you want to do was something good, I mean, you have a couple of bad boys around there doing things, and instead of you gravitating towards that, you would have I would go around to 2nd Street and listen to Wailers, and you understand what I'm saying, and listen to them sing, and that now would be more fulfilling than hanging out and we have loose talk until you end up in the wrong area doing the wrong things. So having had a lot of people in front of you showing you that, this is the way to go, it was not that difficult in just wanting to play. You understand me? And when I was, trying to mix it with a little football and cricket, and I get my spanking from my parents, I just turn away and just steadfast music, So that really, I was just interested in playing.
Yeah, man. So music was the right path. Music was also the path you took.
Yeah,
and you were very instrumental in the beginning of ska. You were one of the originators of the genre, and you arranged and you played on the first international hit, which was My Boy Lollipop by Millie Smalls in 1964. Tell me a bit about the spirit of this new genre coming out of Jamaica, taking over the world, being a #1 hit in England, right? How was that like?
Well, the first thing to begin with, when the ska came in Jamaica here, and it really was taking a good, it was going well within the country, and this was very encouraging too, because then I am a person, I don't really like staying on one level. So I am thinking of something else at the meantime. When I see the people enjoying this car, I am figuring out that's like to take another step, and it will lead me to another, and well, I guess that's the whole idea of my music, by going step by step, and trying to be encouraged by, I wouldn't say by getting paid, because that was a rough part of the game. But it's just that getting the music going into higher spheres. To me, that is my whole ambition, and what would I say, my whole desire.
But was that also, looking at Jamaican society, and we're looking at 1964, as I mentioned, so we're 2 years into Jamaica being independent, and we have mental, right? But we have now ska, which is the country's own genre, so to speak. Was that important, do you think, for Jamaicans on a whole, for the society, for the awareness of the people to have somewhat of an own musical identity?
Yes.
Well, it definitely was, but we had a big setback, because the people who were supposed to help the music at the time had no interest in it, really. I was 6 years of age at the time, but just growing up and checking what was going on and what still is going on.
Right.
It wasn't until a song like My Boy Lollipop hit the top of the British charts, and the whole world said, huh? What is this? And this genre now has, is taken everywhere by storm. And then they realize, hey, Ernest Ranglin arrange and produce, what's going on here? So, you see, that happened, a little bit after independence. And in 1981 actually, when Bob Marley passed, it's the same impact, it's the same thing. People was like, Bob Marley is so popular all over the world. This is 1980. So the music has been treated badly, coming right down. The electronic media and media in general, there was not a lot of justice, done to music. And people like Ernest Ranglin in fight with the ska and the rock steady and all of that. And it trickled right down to when I got involved. It's the same thing that was going on, Reggae music was seen as, them just smoke weed and them thing, and it has always been a fight to but now we have foreigners doing our music and doing it on a level now, and people like, so the foreign man, they might do it, they might take it away, and we didn't have enough support. We still don't have enough support. And the thing is that, we're just here fighting. And that's why this project is such a big thing for me personally. Because here we are, Ernest Ranglin from a different era,
Right.
and myself from a different era,
Right.
coming together, and you know, we have bridged the gap, and we have said, people, see what music can do, it's our music, and you know, you can listen to it, you know, and if you want to dance to it, you can, but we have music, we have a genre that has to be respected, and see we have put it forward, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, we even have several genres, right? That's
Exactly.
And you started out in a time with, you played on Survival of Bob Marley and the Wailers, and
Yes.
it was also the early stages of reggae music at that time, while at the same time, I mean, Bob was already huge, and he
Yes.
played in Zimbabwe, and he had
Yes.
legendary performances. Were you, I mean, you probably were aware of the magnitude.
Yes.
Would you say the people were aware of the magnitude?
No, at that time, because we're talking about 1980 at the time, because it was right at the end of 79, going into 80, that I did Survival. I met Bob Marley, like personally, because I toured with Dennis Brown at the time. So I met Bob Marley personally on that tour. And then I was invited to play on the Survival album a couple months later. And at that time, Dennis Brown was actually a top British charts also. Seeing Money in Your Pocket, Take That Loving You, you understand me, was up there, and the music was alive and well, and was being treated with a lot of respect outside of Jamaica. You understand me? So it wasn't until, as I said, the passing of Bob, that a lot of what we call corporate Jamaica started to pay attention and look into the music.
Yeah.
And I think that they should have done this years before that, and you know, we would have been further ahead. You know, so at this is where now we really need the cooperation, seeing of the, I don't want to say uptown people, but corporate Jamaica. Because remember one thing now, we must never forget, the popular people, the regular man out there, carry this upon on them back too. Them, it's really them who made us stars. You understand me? Because when a man from uptown would pass you, seeing, when you walk through the streets of Kingston, a man going to say, see Ernie there, see Dean there. You understand me? So till this day, the so-called ordinary man is really the man who keep this music up and make it what it is today.
Yeah, man. And we have this album now. So this album hopefully will highlight and showcase once more the immense talent that is coming out of this island, and the extraordinary musical talent that's coming out of this island. I know you said some years ago that you would retire from live performances. Is there any chance that we could hear the music that you recorded at some point in any form on a stage still?
Well, personally, I am just hoping that we get the opportunity, because I will stop everything just to let that happen.
Right.
You understand me? So just look out. You
Okay,
understand me?
all right. So I can have a little bit of hope
Yes, you
that it might
enough
happen.
hope. Yeah.
All right. But there is no specific plan as yet.
No.
Okay.
I have a thought, but soon.
Okay, all right. You will, hopefully you let me know.
Yes, I will.
All right,
I will.
all right. So we might be able at some point to experience the Two Colors live, Ernest Ranglin and Dean Fraser playing together with other musicians as well. So this is something very exciting that we can, hope for, keep our fingers crossed for it to happen. If you want to actually enjoy a veteran performing live this summer, you can look out for Burning Spear, because after our long period of not touring, he has announced a tour for the US and Europe. So you can look out for the dates. Of course, you will find them on Reggaeville, and he will play, for example, in Birmingham.
Birmingham. August 13, the Spear and the Burning Band will be there. We try to fool the black population by telling them that Jah dead. Jah no dead, 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 oh, no, Jah no dead.
Meet me at the back of the beautiful river. Meet me at the back of the beautiful river. Right over there. Right over there.
Wha Gwaan Munchy family, I'm still here with Ernest Ranglin and Dean Fraser, who are just about to release their album, Two Colors, coming on May 27th, produced by Dean and Tad's Records, right? That's where I figure you also recorded your part of the music, right?
Yes.
Right. We mentioned the musicians also. Who actually wrote the music? That was all you, or that was a mutual effort, or?
Mutual effort, of
Mutual
course. Mr.
effort.
Ranglin did most of it, and I did some, right? And other people too. Desi Jones wrote, Michael Fletcher wrote, Lamont Silver wrote. So we had a combination of writers, but predominantly Ernest Ranglin.
Okay. So what has actually inspired the compositions? And were those compositions and ideas you had for a long period, or were these specifically for this project?
Well, as I've been going through the whole of my profession, so to speak, I try to put things to suit the moment, and this is how I do it. If I'm going to do jazz music, I'm going to try to maybe put the things that would suit that moment, let's put it that way. And just the same thing with whatever we are doing here, because I could be more modern, or I could be more behind. So, but I want to be right along with whatever is going on, that everybody, I don't want to go past anybody's mind, in a sense. I want to, like, having a conversation, like all of us can understand each other and enjoy what we are talking about.
Right.
And that is what I'm trying to do.
Right. And the conversation is entitled Two Colors. Very much looking forward. Already out is the Ranglin, the first single with Big Youth, so the people can go on the Reggaeville. We have the news there. We have more information on this record also compiled there on the website, and there you can find the music to listen to. And then, as I said, May 27th, we can look out for that and listen out for that, because this is when we gonna hear Two Colors. So for that project, but also for you personally, I wish you all the very best. Thank you very much for taking the time speaking to me. It was really a great honor to sit here with the two of you.
It's a great honor having you here too. I'm very pleased to meet you.
Thank you so much, sir.
Sorry.
It's your strength.
Wha Gwaan Munchy.